Hey there. So today it's day 18 on the Carnivore Diet Month. Feeling good still. I pretty much say that every day, but it's really truthful. I go to bed pretty early. I think last night I went to bed at 8:30, got up at 4:30 this morning. That's just the kind of way that I roll. Get a few things done before I have to head out to work. So today is all about salt. And I know that if you guys have talked, or at least looked into the carnivore diet, people eat salt with their meat. I'm one of those also, but I've actually been using extra salt for quite some time now, probably close to 8 or 9 years. And it may be a little bit of a hyperbole, but I'll say that it changed my life. And the reason it did is that I was in Georgia, did a lot of bike riding, sweating a lot in the summertime, and I was starting to cramp at, say, 50 miles, and I really shouldn't have had to do that. So I started for John Mullen. John Mullen's a friend and an energy healer of mine in Atlanta, and he talked to me about salt. And ever since then, I've been taking additional salt. So, gosh, why so much salt? So anyway, there's lots of benefits for salt. Now, I'm not a super, I guess you'd say, a um, an expert on this, but if the expert is this guy named Dr. Niccolo Antonio. So if you want to read his book, it's called The Salt Fix. The Salt Fix will tell you everything about it. The Salt Fix, the why the experts got it all wrong, and how eating more may save your life. So, as we're going through here, um, uh, we talk about, you know, a lot of people say, gosh, you need to limit your salt. You need to limit your salt intake. Oh, it's not good for your blood pressure. It's not good for this. It's not good for that. It helps you, it makes you retain water, all this sort of thing. And really, most of that has been disproven. If you read the Salt Fix book, I actually listen to mine on Audible, but if you read the Salt Fix book, basically talks about there's a small percentage of people who who actually that does happen to. If they take too much salt, they'll actually increase their blood pressure and they may run into some problems. But it's such a small minority. For the most part, the other 99% of us would really benefit from more salt, believe it or not, more salt than what we're doing. So just a few of the things I wrote down here. So salt restriction, this is directly out of the Salt Fix book. Salt restriction, this is the things that could happen to you. You have a higher heart rate, primarily because you'll have a lower blood plasma, meaning you'll have a lower blood volume. And so your heart actually has to increase the rate to get the amount of blood to circulate in your system. So if you have a higher heart rate, then you might be restricting too much salt. Your salt restriction can narrow your arterial walls. They can even increase your risk of cardiovascular disease. Now that's in the research. In the book, he goes over the research that talks about that. It's crazy, isn't it? Because what do we think always like heart healthy, grains and no salt. The other one is it increases your insulin resistance. And what that means is that your body's not able to take that insulin and put it to use in your cells, but actually it just starts storing more and more fat into your fat cells. Because what will end up happening, lower salt will actually increase your blood insulin levels, and that'll actually, believe it or not, make you store more fat. And so you're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing all the right things. I'm exercising. I'm lowering my salt. I'm all this, but you're actually doing the opposite of what your body wants. And also it'll give you higher triglyceride levels. So that's something that we don't want. That's in a blood test. So and we've heard. I know that I've heard for years, like, don't take salt because of your blood. You're higher to get high blood pressure. Well, I tell you what. I took my blood pressure this morning, and I wrote it down here. My blood pressure was 116/73 with a 48 heart rate. Now, I mean, and you wouldn't believe how much salt I take. So just to give you an idea, this is everybody knows me as a salt person in the office, and one of the assistants a couple of years ago actually put this as my desktop picture on my computers, because everybody knows that I start with the basics, like, well, how's your salt intake? And there's actually been some people in the office that has some issues, a little bit of salt, and within just a few minutes they're a lot better. Um, this was actually given to me by one of the one of my fellow employees here. This is a salt kind of a container, and has all my salt in it here. It's hard to kind of see, but this is a nice little container. It's like olive wood, and there's even a little scooper here. So also you shouldn't really have just table salt. Table salt is highly processed, lots of fillers in it. It's just, I mean, in a bind. If I'm in a restaurant and I don't have any real salt with me, um, I'll put some regular salt on, but that's few and far between. Because a lot of times we have salt with me. I have salt with me in my lunchbox, in my truck, in my car. I carry it with me on my bicycle rides. And of course, I have some here in my office. So I'm also always close to salt. So this is the only salt that I recommend. This is called real salt. And it's actually, that's what's like when I say real salt, yeah, okay, is it really real? Yeah, it's called real salt, Redmond real salt. Now this comes out of a $1 million, not $1 million, but a million-year salt lake that's been underground in Utah for the past millions of years. It's under about 80 feet of clay, so it's highly, I guess you'd say, pure, because there's no bad stuff that's getting into it from the environment that's happening today. There's no pollution. There's no chemicals that are getting into it. This is the actual real salt that's been preserved underground in Utah. And if you look at it, it's hard to maybe see, but it has a little bit of a pinkish hue to it, and because it has a lot of trace minerals. So just to give you an idea, this is pretty cool. So a quarter teaspoon of this, a quarter teaspoon contains 98% of your RDA average that you're supposed to get in your diet of sodium chloride. But look at this, 40% of calcium comes from just a quarter of a teaspoon. 12% potassium, 10% magnesium, and then there's other trace minerals here all the way down to iodine, zinc, manganese, copper, phosphorus, iron. These are all trace minerals that are in this real salt. And this is really, I mean, we give this away for Christmas presents because we feel so strong about it. So how much salt should you take? Now, everybody's a little bit different, but there's some general rules that Dr. Nicola Antonio actually goes over in the Salt Fix. So the general rule is 3 to 6 grams per day. And he talks about really you can go to the higher part of that and don't be concerned about it. So that 3 grams is about 1/3 of a teaspoon, and 6 grams that's double 2 2/3 of a teaspoon. So I figure about 1.5 to 3 teaspoons per day. Now, typically what I'll do is in the morning, because this is what he recommends, take about a teaspoon about 1 hour before you do any kind of sweaty type intense exercise. So before my bike rides in the morning or my rowing sessions, I'll take about a half to 1 teaspoon of salt to get me through that 30 minutes to an hour of an exercise, because you'll lose a lot of that. If you're exercising for longer than that, take about a teaspoon every hour. So, and that'll keep up your salt stores and keep down those cramps. If you're having leg cramps, eye twitching, you're probably dehydrated and low on salt, and you need both. So this is what I do. So this is 1 teaspoon here. I'll probably take, when I actually do mine, I'll probably take about half that. I put it in the palm of my hand. I'll drink it. I'll eat it. I'll put it in my mouth and let it dissolve, and then I'll swallow it. And then within the next hour or so, I'll have about a half of one of these bottles. This is probably about 12 ounces of one of these. This is about a half of one of these bottles. and that'll make sure that I'm getting my salt, I'm getting my fluids in at the same time. A lot of people say, "Gosh, I don't know why I'm so dehydrated because I drink so much water." Well, it's because you're drinking so much water and you're peeing out or sweating out all of your salts. You need more salt. Salt's problem. You don't need carbs to live on, but you actually need salt to live on. Now there is salt in meat, so if you're eating a lot of meat, you're getting salts in there. Eggs have salt in it, has sodium. So and then if you're eating, other like salty things like pickles and olives, those are all salty too. So, but really, if you just get the salt that goes in, it's awesome. I love it. I have it every day. It'll change your life, and I hope it changes your life like mine, because I don't get those cramps like I used to, and I sleep like a baby, and my heart rate and my blood pressure is lower than most 20-year-olds, and me at 60 years old, that's saying something. All right, so that's my message for today. Sorry it was a little longer today, but you guys have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.